this is another narrative I really hate. I'm going to write a piece in the next few months called "There's no such thing as there is no they, there is no them." Like the conspiracy theory, like there's a bunch of rich, greedy Swiss dudes like Klaus Schwab or whatever, and the Rothschild family and the Queen, who's actually a lizard, like whatever. There's a bunch of elite people who've all got together and decided they're going to fuck over everyone and take all the money and, scare everyone with an. It's not that. Like, if you ever have been involved with institutions like big companies or investment banks or anything, right? When you put groups of people together, they become stupid. Like, it's a well-known, stupid decisions get made. There's sort of all these problems with institutional inertia, so there's no way that the Japanese government and the Chinese government and the European governments and the American governments could possibly collaborate to perpetrate COVID on us or any of these things, right?
So you're not with the sort of conspiracy like the World Economic Forum are trying to sort of kill the world off. And
it's really funny you say that, because I was thinking I need to read The Great Reset, actually. Because I haven't actually read it, the book that Charles Schwab's Swiss mate wrote. But I just think, like, even if they are, and Bill Gates is actually a lizard, and even if these people are trying to do that, there's no way they're going to be able to do it, because the world is so complicated and pluralistic, and there are.
It's only one side of the world as well.
Well, exactly. But if you just think about, for example, so the number of times I hear people say the stock market or financial markets are rigged, right? Like, anybody spent 10 minutes on a trading floor will say there are elements of it that are dishonest. There are people trying to manipulate markets. But, you got a big company, even a company that's only like 1 or 2 billion, let alone an Apple that's 2 or 3 trillion or 3 trillion-ish now. It will have hundreds, if not thousands of shareholders, right? So if you're going to try and manipulate that, you basically have to get all of the shareholders to agree, or, a lot.
All on the same level.
Yeah, and in a very, very small company, you can do that. But I had this argument with somebody a few years ago who reckoned that a particular acquisition of a oil and gas company had been rigged, right? I've been screwed over. It's like, okay, this company's got 650 investors on all time zones in the world. So what you're suggesting must have happened is that they must have been able to, basically hundreds of people would have been able to do a conference call across San Francisco, London, New York, Boston, Tokyo, Seoul, Korea, to all of whom have been breaking the law.
Yeah.
It's just not like.
But then you got like the other argument would be like the Nancy Pelosi thing, like with the insider trading, and is that sort of a thing that does happen?
I think it does happen, and Martha Stewart as well. Yeah, and there are lots of bad actors. I just think
she plays it though.
Well, she
does it. She owns it. She says it.
Nancy or
Pelosi.
Right? Yeah,
but then, can you blame him if he's there to be rigged?
Yeah, no, but I think you can. I think anybody. I mean, I think America. I'll be a bit careful what I say, because I'm a big fan of America. I spent 2.5 years of my life in America, but there's this. I think a lot of Europeans, when they think about being successful financially, they know what enough is. Like a lot of Europeans, sort of philosophically, we can be. If you're quite wealthy, that's great. But if you're Italian, you're going to focus on food and wine and whatever. But in America, there's a very particular it's never enough. Like there's this sort
like
of we don't want to be worth billion. If you're worth $1 billion, you're still not happy because somebody else worth $2 billion. And I think you can even sort of verify that with sociological work that says that that's part of the psyche. So and I definitely would agree that you do come across examples of unbelievably greedy, corrupt. I think, by the way, to be clear, for anybody American watching this, they exist elsewhere in the world too. But I think it's a particularly American malaise. Like, that movie Erin Brockovich with the Pretty Woman lady, Julia Roberts. She made this great movie called Erin Brockovich. It won the Nobel Prize, the Oscar, slightly different. And it was basically about this American chemical company that was poisoning people and giving thousands of people cancer. And it's a true story about this woman called Erin Brockovich who won like hundreds of millions of dollars of compensation for their families. And I think that sort of stuff used to happen a lot in America. I think it happens a bit less now. But, this is what I always come back to is yesterday in the London stock market or the New York stock market, of the X 100,000 trades that happened, how many of them were actually insider trading or corrupt? It's a tiny percentage. Not least because most trades today are conducted by bots that are trading with each other, algorithmic, which is another thing, which is potentially problematic. If you've read Michael Lewis's Flash Boys, by the way, read that book.
Good book.
It's like the insight that if there are, 1,000, I don't know if it's 1,000 or 1,000,000 milliseconds, it must be 1,000,000, because there are basically more milliseconds between 2 seconds than there are days since the birth of Christ, right? And if a hedge fund is able to trade within those milliseconds, whilst everyone else, like you and me, is only able to trade every second, they can basically get in, buy, get out, sell,
Get out in a millisecond.
Before you've blinked, right?
Yeah.
And that has been read the Michael Lewis book, Flash Boys.
Flash Boys,
unbelievable. Anyway, where was I going? But notwithstanding all of that, yeah. But there's this idea that everyone in the city is corrupt, everyone's insider. It's just bollocks, complete bollocks. And like anyone who's worked for a while on a trading desk will tell you. I mean, professionally, like if I was dishonest to my clients, my career would have been over. Yeah. Like if one time one of your clients thinks you've tried to fuck them over, well, they'll never deal with you again.